Coming up on This Week in Agribusiness, American cotton producers take stock of the crop in the field and the policy proposals in Washington. Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for This Week in Agribusiness. I'm Mike Pearson in the studio this week, and we'll also be joined by Max Armstrong a little bit later in the program. Before we do, though, we're going to talk about what's developing here in the cotton industry. It's been an interesting year for those producers, and joining us now to fill us in on how things are shaping up is Dr. Jody Campiche. She's the Vice President of Economics and Policy Analysis with the National Cotton Council. And Jody, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We've seen about a $10 rally here in the price of cotton over the past few weeks. Jody, is this concern that perhaps there's issues in the field?
So I think as we look at the current conditions with the 2023 crop, what we've been seeing from week to week is we've been seeing a continued decline in the condition of the crop in the Southwest in particular. So, last year we had a record level of abandoned acres. This year, we're not expecting that. However, conditions in Texas particularly just haven't been great this year. So the South Texas crop, of course, is being harvested and yields are definitely off in that area. And as we look across the rest of Texas, there's a few areas that are doing okay, but for the most part, conditions are declining. We've started to see that in Oklahoma as well in the last week. So I think overall, the trade initially expected a higher crop for this year. Now, those numbers continue to go down.
Jody, with those concerns in the Texas crop, is there hope that the southeastern Georgia mid-Atlantic crop could make up for the drop?
So conditions in the southeast and the mid-south are improving. That crop has been late, really across the cotton belt. Most of the crop this year was late. However, what we're hearing is that conditions are getting better now that the crop is kind of catching up. So I think there's areas where we could have some above average yields, but there's areas where we could also have average yields. So I don't necessarily know that the mid-south and southeast crop is going to make up for the decline in the Texas crop.
All right, so we've got concerns around supply. Jody, the other side of that picture, demand. What are you seeing on the demand side, and are exports holding up this summer?
So for U.S. exports for the current, really the crop year that just ended, so the 2022-23 crop year, they've mostly met expectations. I think they may come in a little bit lower than USDA had originally expected, but they're still not as high as we have had in the past, but we had a much smaller crop last year. So, we export most of what we grow. So if we don't have the production, we don't have the exports. But for the most part, we have been on track. However, as we look to this next crop year that we've currently started, so the 23-24, there are concerns about demand. Now, we can look at all the data on consumer spending, on, everything, and then just on clothing and apparel products, and we'll see that spending really hasn't slowed down. Consumers are continuing to go more into debt. They're continuing to spend. However, we've had large inventories of clothing and textile products. So what I think is maybe we're working through some of those inventories, because if you look at textile mills and you ask them what their demand has been, the demand is just not there. In the U.S. and across the world, mill demand has been really, really weak. So there are concerns about that going forward.
All of those issues are there on the production side for growers. But Jody, there's always politics playing a role as well. This is a farm bill year. What are cotton producers hoping to see in this next legislation?
So I think overall, cotton growers, and then of course the rest of the cotton industry, has felt like the current farm bill structure has served the industry well. But for the 23 farm bill, some of the things that we're looking at is really just increased farm program support to reflect the higher cost of production and to continue to keep U.S. cotton competitive in the international market. So in particular, increase in the reference prices that are used in the ARC and PLC program, modernizing the Upland Cotton Loan Program, adding a loan program for ELS cotton, strengthening support for the U.S. textile industry, because we were just talking about demand, of course, so the textile industry is an important component of the U.S. cotton industry, and then just enhancing availability of the STAX program for cotton growers.
Jody, if we've got listeners who are curious about what cotton is proposing as we get closer to this farm bill, what's the best place to go for more information?
So, of course, we have our website, the National Cotton Council website, where we have information available for growers who are members. And, we also put out news releases, and we'll continue to put out information as we move forward into the Farm Bill process. So of course, we haven't made it yet, but hopefully we'll end up with one this year.
Hopefully we will. That's Dr. Jody Campiche, Vice President of Economics and Policy Analysis at the National Cotton Council.